Hey everybody, it's your pal Drew Dracy, and got some more comics from my spinner rack. Some have been resting there comfortably for ages, and some are brand new that are going to find a home in my spinner rack. Well, Justice Society of America. This came out in 1991. It was an 8-issue miniseries, and it succeeded enough to warrant an ongoing. However, the ongoing was only 10 issues long. And there's several reasons for that. I think this was right at the time, 1991, when comics were getting, extreme and in your face, and you had all these artists like the Image Boys who were going to leave Marvel, and a ton of imitators, and you had to have like badassery in a lot of books that may not have called for it in the first place. And at this point, Justice Society of America must have seemed quaint to a lot of people, other than older die-hard DC fans. But I've always liked Justice Society better than Justice League for some reason, and I can't quite place it. I don't know why. Amazon, years ago, I'm talking 10 years ago, they actually solicited for a collection of this series and the 10-issue series, but then a couple months later, they took it away before it was published because it had to be because of low, pre-orders. But in the meantime, I'm getting the floppies now. Per my gift, which is also my curse, by the time I buy all these issues, there will be a collection. I don't know what it is. It was Bird's She-Hulk. I finished it off. Bam! The omnibus was solicited. Just finished Web of Spider-Man with Jerry Conway and Alex Saviuk. Boom! Now there's an omnibus collecting those books. And I'm trying not to buy all these and not buying Thunderstrike, for God's sake, because I know, I don't know, it's my mutant power of, which is frustrating. So, Justice Society, like I said, they probably seemed quaint by 1991. I guess they squeaked out enough numbers that they validated an ongoing series. But here goes. Mike Parobeck, he was one of those, not innovators, but he went against the grain, like a lot of artists, like Mike Waringo would later on Flash and other books, and as well as Humberto Ramos, and Bruce Timm's Batman, and later on Darwin Cook. And Mike Parobeck died very young, and it's a shame because I think he would have really been, he was already an influence, but I would love to see him evolve even more. Rick Burkett on the inks, a solid guy. I've never seen him do any Marvel stuff. I've only seen him do DC stuff. Now, you're probably saying by the poses, hey, this is like John Byrne. Well, that's where he started. I mean, that was the baseline where Parobeck started. And then he would go from there as time went on. So, and so it's like a simplified version of Byrne, and it's fun. Yeah, thank you, phone. It is fun. Really cool stuff. That's a great face. That's not a Byrne face, but that's him stepping out of his Byrne influences, trying something else. A lot of times it's good to have like a little hand mirror next to you, and sometimes you can make your own face and go, whoo. Hold it with the left while you draw it with the right, or opposite. So, good stuff. Really enjoyable. I really enjoyed this. So, I'll probably end up buying the darn thing in floppy form, and then everybody will have a chance to get a collected edition. So, here is Guardians of the Galaxy. I love the first one, as painfully short as it was. It was, 4 issues of Gerber and then 3 issues of Roger Stern, and it was hard science fiction with very little action. So that's partially why it failed. And I've done an episode on why the original Guardians failed, but 1990, Jim Valentino, who had been at the time, he had been an indie press. He worked for indies like Renegade Press. He did a couple of books called Valentino, where it was autobiographical, and also he did Normal Man, which was based on a character who had no superpowers in a world where everybody had superpowers. It's a fun send up, and it's got its fans. It's pretty popular. I mean, when people think about it, you haven't seen any new reprints of it. So Guardians of the Galaxy, for many years, one thing I liked by Vance Astro is he was kind of like Nighthawk in Defenders. He was like the one who was cranky and bitchy all the time, and it kind of offset a lot of the what do you call the more settled minds of the other members. I gotta take a drink of water. But by issue 20, not only did he have Captain America's shield, which was in the first story arc of this revamp, but Valentino decided, well, let's get rid of the foil body cast that was keeping Vance Astro from dissolving into dust after 1,000 years of being in suspended animation. And Major Victory was a character from the 40s, one of the many, World War II characters. So I like this a lot, actually. Although later on he would end up with foil again. So I guess they were preserving him to sell him so they could pay for their kids' college. Come on, Drew. See, I got no fingernails. I'm a nail biter. It's a terrible habit. And Valentino came on, and he did 20. This is issue 20. He did more issues, and then he was going to do Shadowhawk for Image and continue on Guardians. And with his simple style, it would probably be easy to do, but Marvel just cut him loose. And I sort of understand that, mostly because, if you're, yeah, baby, if you're working for another company and Image was very anti-Marvel and very like, hey, we're not getting merch that we had a hand in creating and such, it's just, you don't want, even though I don't think Valentino would be the type, but you don't want, you don't want somebody from another company knowing what's going on, and there's possibility of causing problems with the other company by like, well, we'll put out our character, our version of this before they do that solicited. So I know it's ugly and it's kind of, but that's business. So, and here I love this Hollywood. I love that costume. I love the colors. That is Wonder Man, who cannot die. So he's in the 30th century. And there's a lot of legacy characters that are created by Valentino. And then later on, I can't think of who the writer was, but Kevin West did the art, and somebody else wrote it. I apologize to whoever it was. So, but this is a lot of fun. A lot of fun. And of course, you always have to have like a beast type character. You got to have whether it's slash Wolverine slash whatever. And look at this. That's fun. I would have loved to ink that. That's just tremendous fun. So now we go to Star Reach Classics, which was this is reprints stories from the mid-70s where Mike Friedrich, who wrote Iron Man for several years and other books from Marvel, he decided to become an agent for creators to do indie work, and it was an oasis because you had artists doing. There were no exclusive contracts back then, and so some of the regular guys or the top talents could just explore and do something that they owned. And so this came out in '83 when there were a lot of, this is Baxter paper, a lot of Baxter books were being published at the time to crowd out the market even more. As Eclipse Comics, they'd come up with so much great stuff in the '80s. So Dick Giordano, who one of the best inkers in comic books ever, in my opinion, he always added a real flair to what he was doing, and he penciled a lot too. He penciled, but his inking skills were more in demand. At this point, he was in Continuity Studios with Neil Adams, and there's probably a lot of not just influence, but I'm sure Neil, who liked to go over stuff, he probably, I love Zipatone on Stephanie Starr. Tom Orzechowski on the lettering. See, 1975, Mike Friedrich and Dick Giordano. There you go. And that was very, very uncommon back then. So, but yeah, you could see some Neil Adams type poses. And I don't even know if... So, she's this kick-ass woman who's in her panties and bra the whole episode. For whatever reason. I love that bottom panel. That's really smart. I love the faint, grainy Zipatone there too, and the dropouts. Dropouts mean where lines and images end, like where you'll see where her arm is, where she says, "Oh no, Buck, I don't believe it," and you don't see the rest of her outfit because it's a flashback. It's kind of, and that stance with the fringe dress is really smart stuff. Not easy. Not easy at all. I gotta see. I'm trying to avoid the nakedness. Okay. I mean, it's almost naked, but... I just don't want to be deplatformed. Even though I don't make any money off this. I love these kind of cameo faces. Like, cameo doesn't necessarily mean, like, Stan Lee stepping into a shot or something. Cameo is sort of a style that Mike Grell did to great effect on John Sable and then later Green Arrow, where you show part of a face and just kind of let the line work drop off. Hold on a second. Okay. And I like the colors too. They're subdued. There's a lot of people who would go a little too nuts on that. Oops. Looks like a moire pattern I'm getting on my camera, which is with Zipatone kind of shutters. Oh, hold on. And she fixes this guy, but good. But that's the end. It's a very like 70s kind of ending to a lot of books, like where they fade away. So this stuff here, not thrilled with the colors, but back then things were more experimental. This is Newton the Rabbit Wanderer by Sergio Aragonés, famous Mad Magazine cartoonist and co-creator of Gru the Wanderer, and Steve Lee Aloha, mostly known as an inker, but he also penciled Spider-Woman for a while. He did the first couple issues of Coyote with Steve Englehart, and he's kind of been all over the place. So really charming stuff. And sorry, gang. There's like another naked scene, and it's just algorithms are dumb. They're really dumb. I love that pose there. I like the way it's inked too, the way it's rendered. It's just real. I think it's either China marker or I think they call it China marker, or what's the other one? Grease pencil. Grease pencil. That's what it is. Oh, there we go. Sorry, gang. I know it's stupid, but it's a good book. It's really, really good. And this is what they were offering at the time. They were showing actually Starreach Quack. These were books that came out back in the day. Some would be reprinted soon. Really, really neat stuff. So now we go to the super obscure small published books. This is Eradicators. Oh, it's a reprint. I mean, it's a second issue or second printing, and it's by Ron Lim from '85. And he'll probably kill me if he ever sees this episode because it's pretty primitive, but it's fun, and he made such a quantum leap in such a short time. I mean, he went on to do Innovation, Hero, something or other it was called. And see, already he's got the skills to pay the bills. although indie books didn't really pay. You know, it's like as time went on, he lost the stuff that, you know, the fanboy trappings of some of the panels, and he concentrated on his strengths. And, you know, he got to draw the Infinity Gauntlet and Silver Surfer and a lot of stuff. So it's fun. It's terrific fun, but he just makes such a quantum leap. And he, you know, like I said, he became a legend, and he still is a legend. So, next book is, I don't know if I reviewed this already, but I love it so much that I don't really care. And at this time, Marvel Team Up was getting pretty crappy. It was just kind of a lot. You had some good stuff. Like a year prior, you had the crossover with Sal Buscema, Steve Lee Aloha working on Spider-Man Nick Fury / Black Widow / Shang-Chi story. And then you had a lot of very just apathetic work from the looks of it. But this I really enjoyed. This is from Milgram and Rubenstein. Rubenstein's bringing a lot to the table here, because Al could be pretty crude on his line work, which is suitable in some cases. So, but I had to get it because that's my man Hawkeye, and he wasn't really around that much. He was either in the Avengers, he had a special issue devoted to himself, and he appeared in issue 22, which is, you know, 6 years prior. But and what's interesting is, you know, I've been critical, fairly or unfairly, of Carmen Infantino's late stage artwork, and but Pablo Marcos really makes it. He really does a great job on it. Stephen Grant is the writer. He did the solo issue of Hawkeye in Avengers 189, and he also did a short story that ended up in Marvel Fanfare with Hawkeye. So it would have been cool to see him do like a Hawkeye ongoing, but it never was to be. So I love the shadows here. I love what's going on here. So they go to his apartment. It's a pretty ritzy neighborhood. You can afford that kind of thing. Comes with a job. He moved to. He worked for this company named Cross something or other, and it was owned by this guy who Ant-Man fought. He was trying to kill people so he could pump his body up and live. He replaced his heart. He took other people's hearts. He was a bad guy, and they shut it down. But I would have loved that if Hawkeye had his own book and he worked for this company and did security stuff and did other stuff beyond. And there's an apartment. Johnny Burnett and his rock and roll trio. And it's funny because at the time it was a very dated reference, but Johnny Burnett and his rock and roll trio are pretty damn good. They wrote a couple classics that got redone by some punk artists and some cowpunk artists. So you got Mr. Fear, another great character. I don't know if he's original or not. Some toys, a black hole. Like I said, that second panel is just kind of goofy and all that. That whole page is, but the inks help kind of sober it up. I don't know. I can't articulate it properly. That's why I have a YouTube channel, because I can't articulate properly. I love this. Stuff a turkey. Take away your bows and arrows and you're just another guy like us. Maybe, maybe not. Using a bow all your life puts real muscles on your arms, and I've got a lot of fighting experience. Wouldn't you agree? I love that he mentioned that, because also on the first miniseries of Hawkeye, Mark Gruenwald mentions that Hawkeye has this tremendous upper body strength from pulling an arrow, a bow and arrow. And that's something I hadn't considered before. And I'm like, yeah, okay. Yeah, I love that first panel. Infantino was doing that quite a bit in his fill-in issues. Hawkeye's falling. He gets a flare arrow, flies up, but He's got calluses on his hands that are barely protecting him from frying his fingers. Really cool stuff. Really cool stuff. And that's the comics from my spinner rack. It was supposed to be snowing today here in Georgia, and it's snowing in parts of Georgia, but it's almost like there's a force field around our town because we don't get the snow. But that's all right, I guess. It's cold though. But I don't know. As a Pittsburgh boy, I do kind of miss seeing the snow. It doesn't have to loiter around, but you know. So anyway, let me know what you think, please. As many comments as you want. Tell me what you think of the JSA, Spider-Man, Hawkeye, early Ron Lim, and many other soon-to-be legends that started off in small publishing. Guardians of the Galaxy, OG, GOGT, or GOTG. So, I'm going to be covering another Star Reach Classics, which has beautiful artwork by P. Craig Russell in a future episode. So that's it, everybody. Have a great day, and that's about it. Take care, everybody. Big love.